Okay, so thanks everyone for coming and welcome to today's Career Cafe. The purpose of the Career Cafe is to give you exposure to and information about different careers, as well as the opportunity to meet and be inspired by women who work in those fields. We're privileged to have Dr. Hila Handler with us today, and I'd like to thank you for giving up some very precious time in addition to being a busy wife, mother, and medical doctor. Dr. Handler and your family are preparing to move to Israel next week, I believe. So thank you very much for being here today, and we look forward to hearing about your career and also about your passion for health. You're welcome to help yourself to refreshments, and there is some information about TI's program in health sciences on the tables, as well as upcoming career cafes. And you're welcome to write down any questions, and Dr. Handler will be happy to answer those questions towards the end of her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't know if you girls want to do this more casual, or you want me to talk a little bit. Maybe I'll give a little introduction and then ask you questions. So let's see, when did my path start? I guess I feel old, but when I was in your shoes, I definitely had a lot of questions about where I was going to end up. And I did have a strong passion to change the world. And I think a lot of it was because I wasn't from. So I'm here to share my story. I'll give you a little bit, but a lot of it, I think, I wouldn't necessarily want you to follow in my footsteps. So, going into medical school is hard. It's a massive hishtadlus. And for me, it was a double massive hishtadlus because I was going into the system to change the system. I was not happy with medicine. I was not feeling well when I was about, what are you, early 20s, right? So when I was about your age, I was struggling with just fatigue and not feeling as energetic as I should, and had some digestive stuff going on, and I just felt like doctors weren't getting it. They weren't addressing where I was at. So that's what started my healing journey. And then now, Baruch Hashem, 15 years later, I realized that I was basically struggling from a lot of food sensitivities and just what I call a dysfunctional diet, and not really knowing how to take care of myself. And it was something that I didn't feel like my doctors knew how to address. So I went kind of, 10 different directions to find my path. And Baruch Hashem, now looking back, I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. But getting here was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Mamish, just a tough path. So I'll tell you a little bit. I went to University of Chicago. I graduated with honors because I ended up doing my thesis, which is how you graduate with honors. You do a thesis at the end, which is a whole project that you research. And I did my thesis on what's called energy medicine. And at the time, that was unheard of and very naughty. And when I went to the administration and I said I want to do my thesis on energy medicine, which, have you ever heard of auras? Mm-hmm. Auras are like the energy you emit from your body, right? So there's a whole science about auras. So when I went into the administration at this very, foofy head academic place where they laughed at me and they said I would never find a mentor, I said at the time NASA was doing a study on auras, believe it or not, and NASA was proving that we actually radiate energy. We are matrices of energy, and you could measure different energy wavelengths and actually correlate that with healing. So that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to prove the administration wrong, and they said I'd never find a mentor, and it happened to be that my mentor, the way Hashem orchestrated it, was the dean of the medical school. I literally went door to door saying, I want to do my thesis, will you be my mentor? and most got a lot of no's. And then when I went to someone told me the director, the dean of the medical school at the time, his name was Dr. Larry Wood, and he was just an amazing person. And he mamash wanted to bring spirituality and more focus on our body's energy and relation to the cosmos. Whatever it was in his world, he wanted to bring that into science. So not being from, I was looking for science to validate what now I realize is Torah, rather than for Torah to validate science. Right? I had it all, right? But Baruch Hashem, it started my path. It started my spiritual path, and it started my health path. So when I finished that year of doing this thesis on energy medicine, and really proving scientifically that we do emit energy in different wavelengths and all that, this director that worked with me, the dean of the medical school, said that he wants to see me go into medical school. And I thought he was crazy, because first of all, you do pre-med usually in university, right? Mm-hmm. So I was graduating. I hadn't done any of my pre-med studies. And also, I thought it was all sheker. At the time, I still do, but I think a lot of it still is. But I just thought, I looked at medical students, and I got to work with them for a year, and they all eat pizza and Subway for lunch. And I thought they're all, hypocrites. And this is not medicine, and this is not where I'm going. So he convinced me that if I do this, I will change the face of medicine as we know it, and that you've got to be on the inside to change it from the inside, and all this stuff that at the time basically became my religion then. So I took it on as a religion. This is what I did. I spent 24 hours a day researching and working hard, and I ended up doing what's called pre-med, post-bac pre-med. So after university, so 4 years of University of Chicago, then I went to what's called a post-bac pre-med program in Bryn Mawr in Pennsylvania, which was a year and a half of only science. So for a girl who is a psychology photography major to suddenly do a year and a half of physics and chemistry and organic chemistry and biology, I did it all in a year and a half. It was miserable, the worst year and a half of my life probably. And then I finished, and then I got into medical school at Rush. So that is where I became from, Baruch Hashem. So Hashem orchestrated it. So then in my second year of medical school, I met another medical student, and I actually walked up to her. I could tell she was from. I was curious. I wanted to know how she juggles her life. And she and I became friends, and she invited me for Shabbos here in West Rogers Park. And that was the start of my journey. So my first Shabbos ever was here. And so Baruch Hashem, I see how Hashem wove it all together. But I'll tell you, after finishing a rigorous program at Rush, which really is a lot of, it basically, they want you to give your soul to them. So if you have other interests, they don't really like that, right? So it's kind of selling your soul a little bit. After finishing medical school, my husband and I decided to ask a shaila about whether I should even do residency, because medical school was so hard for us as a newly married couple, taking up all my time and energy. So we went to meet with Rabbi first. And this is what Rabbi first said. We asked him if I should do residency. And Rabbi first said, you can do residency if they agree to be Shomer Shabbos. Now, that residency already, getting into a residency is already a very competitive thing, and it's not so clear that you'll get in. There's a whole matching process. So after 4 years of university and 4 years of medical school, to get into a residency is another step, takes a lot of hishtadlus. So my husband, we met with Rabbi first in person, and he said it has to be a Shomer Shabbos program. And my husband said to Rabbi first, I don't know if the Rav realizes that this could mean that my wife doesn't match in a program. And now that we're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and we've put in so much of our time and energy, does the Rav realize that my wife may not match in a program if she puts another kind of barrier to her getting in? And this is what the Rav said. He said, okay, so let the goyim be doctors. So that's not everyone's psak. That was the psak I got. And I went with it. very, I was actually phew, like if Hashem wants me to do residency, I'm going to do residency, and if not, Rabbi first said, let the goyim be doctors. So that was, I was very, I had like a lot of menuchas nefesh about it. So this is unheard of, I only applied to 5 programs. That is unheard of. Usually